AI adoption today is primarily a cultural challenge, not a technical one. Let me explain. Alrighty. This is another reflection on an every article. They talk about their consulting business that I have created recently. And why I wanted to make this video is because I essentially have a lot of the same problems, or we're facing a lot of the same problems in our day-to-day kind of implementation of AI, which we can see here in the key learnings. So I want to focus primarily on number 2, which is AI adoption is primarily a cultural challenge, not technical. So from going into companies and trying to implement AI, I see a lot of misunderstandings around a couple topics, like what AI can really do. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the hype around it and the hype cycle. Also with Vaporware, so products that show, really good results in demos, but then you use the product and it's absolute garbage. Most of the time, this is just to, raise funding or something. But it's definitely not to create real world results. It's more selling the future and the mindset around, imagine if I could actually do this. Question being, when is that actually possible? But that creates a lot of interesting expectations, or rather expectations we need to tackle. And another thing that we've noticed is that, and it says that here, people don't want to use these tools. First off, because change is always hard. It's also annoying. Like, nobody really wants to take time to change. It's a classic case where it is something that's important, but it's not important right now. So there's no immediate pressure, which means in most cases, unless you create space for exploration, it means it will never happen in most cases. And so that's the second problem. And then the third is essentially that people think of software as a deterministic system. So people are used to consistency. When there is software and a software has a certain workflow, the result will always be the same because it's deterministic, right? So if I do the same action 50 times, I get the same result 50 times. Like, that's how people think about software. And they don't really understand that AI doesn't work that way and it's not deterministic. And that is also a problem for the developer, right? So we can only think in terms of probabilities. The AI is going to give us the result that it thinks is the most probable. And that means that the more context we give the tool, the more it should be able to understand what we're actually trying to achieve. And I think that is a big issue, because more often than not, people don't know what to give to the tool, or they essentially try to replace their workflow with just saying, do this thing for me, and then they get bad results and then they blame the tool. And that ties back to point 1, where we have created false expectations of the outputs, and then when we actually use the tool, we get bad outputs, and that creates the entrenched view that it doesn't work, or that it is kind of useless and kind of demystifies the whole thing. But more often than people getting bad results is that I see people parroting some view but never actually having used the tool themselves. They're just saying, I can build software myself with AI. And then you ask, like, have you done it? And they say, no, and it's just like, again, it's just like false expectations, right? And I think that is the main challenge. And all these challenges, nothing new, right? Like, new technology adoption, I think, always takes a certain mindset. But the problem is that this isn't really like early adopter technology. Like, it isn't a venture startup where things start out looking like a toy, and then, the incumbents, they don't, like the big companies, they don't move because they don't have to, right? Until it's too late. And then they wake up and they get disrupted. This is essentially disruptive innovation. But AI is more of a continuous improvement where existing things get better and it impacts everyone, right? And I think that this creates friction where there is this experimental technology that is more useful for early adopters and the people willing to put in the time to learn how to use it, but everyone is expected to use it, right? And so I think there's a bit of a disconnect, and it creates a very unique kind of position in the world as of today that we haven't really faced as often as, let's say, the iPhone as like a disruptive thing, and the early and late majority, or the people that move very slowly, they can just wait for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they can adopt that thing that has been new 3, 4, 5 years ago. But those same kind of people, they need to adopt this today or tomorrow, because otherwise it's going to be too late. And it is often a kind of strategic initiative by leadership, but then leadership isn't really prepared to, is more of a thing that people are like, oh, we need AI strategy. I mean, it's almost a meme at this point, right? That everyone needs AI strategy, but nobody really knows what to do. And so I think that is the core issue here, and that's kind of our job, as AI consultants or people building AI products. It's our job to solve, either through UX if you're building a product, or through communication if you are a consultant. And I think it's a very interesting challenge to solve. And it's very far away from the kind of, I'm an efficient software engineer, and I only deal with hard problems. These are like soft skill issues, right? And so I think, if you're good at that and you're good at building, I think you're in a very good position in order to capitalize on this. This was the first video of my series, AI Without the Hype. If any of the stuff I mentioned resonates with you, feel free to subscribe to not miss the next video in that series. That's it. Cheers.